All right, so we are Standard QM. Anymore. But just an overview, we are presenting the video browsing tool. In this application, we will be essentially displaying videos that are processed by a computer vision algorithm, which actually another of our team classmates are doing. So in our project, all we're essentially doing is the user is going to upload a video to our client site, and at that point they will be able to select what algorithms they want to choose to apply to that particular file. From there we will process them as their data, store it to a database, and we are not doing any processing, rather we're only presenting the results, which can be either graphs, say data points, or just a video file itself. We're using the merge stack, and that's really all that's necessary to know at this point. For our current iteration backlog, we completed a couple of the tasks that we actually started or projected that we would. So in this case, there are these. So we set up our environment. We did some UI mockups. We had some trouble working with Jest and all the testing frameworks, which is just as confusing sometimes, but you know, nonetheless, we got it working. We did a simple video display as well as a API side or backend side video upload and storage that we can also retrieve, which we will show in a moment. But there was, based on Dr. Subramaniam's direction, some things that we decided were not a priority in terms of completing for this iteration, which were the login portal, the database schema design. We have something basic but not very detailed in terms of users, and we have decided not to pursue the Dockerization of the application until the end of our development. So first of all, this is one of the things that we did in our backlog, which was just some basic mock-ups of the UI that we actually touched base with our sponsor just yesterday, and he approved. We did some modification based on his feedback from yesterday, which shows just really displaying the videos that the user uploads, as well as the different types of feedback that we would get from this processing server, which could be, like I mentioned before, some data points that we can plot as a graph, or just the video itself, all within the frame of displaying the video. I guess from here I will go and show. So this is just our initial code coverage. Once it runs. As of now, it's not very extensive. Like I mentioned before, we did have a big learning curve in terms of trying to get things working and really getting the entire team. It's kind of hard to handle a big team when, you know, sometimes some of us know a bit more than others, but for the most part, I believe that moving forward, we'll be able to delegate tasks a bit better once the core of the team knows and how to direct the rest of us. Other than coverage, we'll actually go ahead and display an example of our API side of the application. So in this case, this will function as the core functionality of the communication between the client side and the server. In this particular scenario, we will be taking video and posting that using a REST API, which will then send that to the database. In our scenario, we're using MongoDB to handle the storage of not the video data itself, but rather the metadata, which will be stored in an S3 storage. Because Mongo does not actually handle data in terms of video, we pass that to the API. So that will handle just UID, which we will actually just be presenting a video of what we have completed previously. So in this case, the displays are S3 storage. Like I said, this is not shown to the user, rather showing the functionality of what we have actually completed. We here are using Robo83T, which just interfaces with the database itself. And this is the code that runs the server. From here, we're going to be showing through Postman the different routes that our API handles in terms of uploading and retrieving video. In this case, this is the upload. So right now, this is uploading a particular video, and we're showing the response from MongoDB and showing how that's actually taking the data and uploading it. We are storing it locally in the meantime that it gets transferred to S3. And that just shows the, like I said, the metadata of the video. So this just shows the code that we use to interface with S3, as it does not, uses authentication in the sort. And then we bounce it over to this. Once the video does get uploaded, it does give us the response on the API itself, and we can show that being stored in our S3 storage, which once the video shows in a bit, we see the two videos that were uploaded based on the API request that we made through Postman, and the records that were stored on MongoDB accordingly. From here, we can actually also so we didn't show it on the video itself, but we also have the capability to use Postman to retrieve that video and display it to the user. In terms of the other rest of the features that we performed in our backlog, I will go ahead and run our server, or API/server. And in this case, this is just the basic display of the video. We're not currently, this is decoupled from the API, as we separate teams have worked on this. This is just displaying the video basically on our server to show that it's running, and not necessarily our content, but that will be populated with the content from Post. And in terms of our next iterations, which we will be doing, we have set up Kanban boards on Trello. In this case, we used it for our first sprint. We have the different tasks, obviously, that are in progress. There was a couple, like we mentioned, that were still there, and we've decided to push them to the next iteration, or next sprint. We just assign the different tasks based on who picks to do which, and then we can then delegate with different members of our group. Like I mentioned before, we did have some trouble setting it up initially and getting the ball rolling, but now that we have a better idea of what we need to do, we'll focus on implementing the test-driven development principles and write the test accordingly based on who's working on what. We have then also decided, populated, at least initially, the next tasks of our backlog that we will be completing in our next iteration, which in this case we will be focusing a little bit more on the user interface. Now that we have the core functionality of the API functioning, we will also just go into user profile management. So in this case now we want to actually save the data based on what user. We're not going to be focusing on authentication yet, rather just making user profiles and storing that data on Mongo accordingly. From there, we will also be working on, again, this goes with the user interface, but presenting data, which according to our sponsor, he mentioned that it could be a couple of things, which are a video that has been processed, a couple of data points to show whatever the algorithm is requesting, and or just notes that can be shown as a text file. So that'll be part of the results from the algorithm, and then from there we will also be working on extending the video player capabilities, as the requirements do request to be able to show the video backwards and front, and a couple of others. And that's it for our presentation.